The roguelite genre. You either love it or you hate it, but there's no denying that it has dominated the indie gaming scene for years now. The latest release to toss its hat into the ring is Yasha, Legends of the Demon Blade, an action roguelite with RPG elements that allows players to choose between 3 unique characters. But does Yasha stand out in a crowded genre, or does it die by the sword? Let's find out in our full review. But real quick, quit living on the edge and support honest indie gaming coverage over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, where you'll gain Discord access to the greatest indie gaming community. Enjoy early and ad-free shows, get a shout out at the end of every video we produce, our podcast 3 days early, and so much more. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Yasha, Legends of the Demon Blade lacks originality, I'll just say it. Its art does nothing to stand out from a million other anime games, its roguelite progression has at this point been done 100 times over, the combat system features the most basic action mechanics, and the story mostly feels like any other budget visual novel that already exists on the market. Now, I don't mean to start off negatively, as not offering anything new doesn't make for an inherently bad game, but it's important to understand what you're getting when you purchase this release. That is my goal with any review after all. In the case of Yasha, you'll get nothing more than what is being advertised. Well, mostly. In fairness, not every roguelite offers different playable characters, and in this case, you'll be able to choose between 3 of them. We have Shigure, a self-described immortal ninja who's the most balanced of the 3 and can switch between different blades, the speedy and way too young-looking demon girl Sarah, and Takatora, our honorary bowsman who can strike enemies from a distance. Each character feels unique enough in their fighting style, and players will even get a distinctive story for each. If only then any of these stories were all that worth caring about. Rather than bore you with an entire rundown of each character's background, I'll give you a basic idea of what Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade is all about. Years ago, the world was overrun by human-devouring demons, until Yasha, the Demon Slayer, appeared and purged them from existence in an event known as the Blood Moon. After Yasha's disappearance, the Blood Moon event came to an end. However, the demons had a change of heart and decided not to eat humans anymore. How sweet of them. While the two managed to coexist for some time, an uneasy alliance to say the least, after 300 years, everything is falling apart, and humans and demons are once again at each other's throats. As I mentioned, there are differences between the 3 character stories, but they all feature fairly flat dialogue, uninteresting characters, and long-winded, static visual novel-esque cutscenes that can mercifully be skipped. Just about every anime trope in existence is littered across the game's different chapters. And hey, for some of you that might be fine, but for me, Yasha just didn't do enough to stand out from a narrative standpoint to maintain my interest regardless of which character I selected. Of course, as we know, a middling story, or in this case stories, can be forgiven if the gameplay loop is engaging enough. However, as a roguelite action RPG, Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade is merely a serviceable entry in the genre. The core gameplay loop goes something like this. Battle through 2 small rooms filled with a handful of enemies, defeat a boss, visit a village to restore health and collect upgrades, then progress forward until you inevitably die, using your earned currency to grow stronger for the next run. I'm simplifying things, but does this sound familiar yet? Yasha is a roguelite through and through, one with various middling stories stacked on top, yes, but a generic roguelite nonetheless. Combat is a rather basic affair built around simplistic strikes and a parry system that allows players to utilize mystic arts. Gamers will have the same basic controls regardless of which hero they select, with standard light and heavy combination attacks. There's a dash for avoiding enemy attacks and a dash attack for striking them in the moment. Mystic arts require a small degree of timing, activated with the press of a button when a yellow light appears above an enemy's head. This successfully parries the attack, with a second press of the button unleashing your magic. A more powerful mystic art can be unleashed by holding the parry button down longer in advance of the attack and then releasing it, only to push that same button one last time. The more interesting aspect of combat comes from weapon switching, allowing you to swap between different instruments of war with the press of a button. Experimenting with different weapon combinations was enjoyable, though I typically stuck with one and focused on upgrading that particular blade, which proved effective most of the time. That's because, by roguelite standards, Yasha isn't extremely challenging, at least initially. After maybe 3 to 4 runs as a single character, I was able to complete a full run in around 40 minutes. That said, if I give this game credit for anything, it's that it does its best to incentivize players to keep going. Not only do you have 3 different stories to experience, even if they follow the same basic levels and bosses, but without spoiling too much, the game encourages you to continue using the characters you've already completed runs with while increasing the difficulty. The real problem here is that Yasha gets rather boring. Sure, there are upgrades and new story beats, but ultimately, you'll still be going through the same stale loop. Now, roguelite fans are used to that, and they might even welcome it, but even as someone who casually enjoys roguelite games, yeah, I was bored. The enemy encounters before each boss are quick, dull, and honestly start to feel like nothing more than pointless distractions. After clearing out all of your foes, you're given a small reward, usually some sort of health increase, alongside the choice between 3 different orbs that can be directly equipped to a character. These soul orbs offer various perks, such as additional attack damage. The system itself is decent, but because enemies are rarely a threat, at least for the first many hours of this game, I often felt overpowered because of them. Boss encounters are a bit more interesting, with each foe offering a distinct pattern, but they still ultimately feel a bit on the easy side for the first many hours of gameplay. It will test one's patience to reach a point where Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade actually feels as challenging as this genre is known to be. By that point, I feel like many players may have grown bored of the same old, tired shtick. After toppling a boss, you are dropped into a village where you can replenish some of your health, take on optional challenges for additional perks, and even chow down on some ramen. Many of the items you purchase come at a cost, so a bit of strategy is involved in deciding how to approach the next area of the game. Upon death, you can use any remaining currency to unlock permanent upgrades and abilities for each character. Players can also use any gathered resources to further upgrade blades and weapons. You know the drill, it's a roguelite. Visually, Yasha isn't going to win any awards, offering very simplistic 3D backdrops, average-looking character models, and solid animations. The character portrait art is decent, though looks a bit low resolution when zoomed in at times. Enemy and boss designs all felt rather generic, and the sound doesn't do much to stand out either. It's a serviceable set of appropriate compositions backed by adequate sound effects during combat. I didn't run into any major performance issues while playing, and for those of you wondering about how the game plays on Steam Deck, it's a perfectly fine way to enjoy the game, offering what felt like a locked 60 FPS during my testing. And here's the thing with Yasha, it's actually fine, but the story bits weren't for me, and I got a bit bored of it all. At least part of that is a me problem, I get it, but if you're a fan of roguelites, it will serve its purpose. There are plenty of hours of gameplay here, battling through the same zones, and enough to unlock as you grow more powerful. The combat is nothing special, but it's functional, and some of the bosses were admittedly entertaining, at least the first few times. I also enjoyed earning a few of the upgrades just to see what kinds of effects they had on my character. The fact that there are 3 different characters who feel distinct enough adds some incentive to continue. But at the same time, it is a painfully generic experience more often than not, and everything here has more or less been done before, better, making it a bit tough to recommend when so many great roguelites already exist in an ever-crowded market. If you've exhausted every roguelite that you own, there's enough here to keep your interest for a bit. It's not a poorly made product by any means, but for everyone else, there are games like Hades, Slay the Spire, Rogue Legacy, the list of better games goes on. Alright, so where does that leave Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade? Well, on our scale from absolutely terrible, down with the indie Krampus there, all the way up to the golden genie lamp of approval, which is essential, this title falls somewhere right in between. It is a competent game that is completely dead center average.
Ah, crud!
For far too long, you, the gamer, have been denied honest gaming coverage. Indie developers and publishers have lost their voice, but no longer. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and head over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames to join this epic campaign for indie visibility. The echo chamber trembles as our message grows louder. Voice to the voiceless.